Hey, welcome. Let's jump right in. What if I told you that everything we've been taught about learning, that it's all about willpower and trying harder, is missing the most important piece of the puzzle? What if learning isn't just in your head? What if it's actually a physical process? This sentence right here, this is the entire idea in a nutshell. It completely flips the script on how we think about focus, studying, and even just remembering things. The big idea is that learning isn't something you think, it's something your body builds. So let's start with the story we all know. Because, we've all been there, right? Trying to cram for a test or learn a new skill and just telling ourselves, I just need to focus more, I need more willpower. We tend to think learning is all about these things: attention, motivation, repetition, just plain old willpower. And let's be super clear, all of that stuff absolutely matters. But think of them like the driver of a car. You can have the most determined driver in the world, but if the car is built out of junk parts and has no gas, you're not going anywhere. These mental efforts totally depend on a physical foundation that we almost never talk about. And that leads to this question, the one that really changes the game. What if your ability to even apply that willpower, what if it depends on a biological process that starts way before you even open a book? Okay, so what is this new foundation? Here's the big switch in thinking. Learning is not some abstract, floaty concept. It is a literal, physical construction project going on inside your brain. Every single time you learn something, you are actually physically building new structures. And this slide is a perfect way to picture it. Think of it like building information roads. Before you learn something, the connection is like a faint little dirt path through the woods. The signal is weak, kind of unreliable. But as you learn, your brain physically paves a superhighway. That weak signal becomes strong, stable, and fast. So where does all this construction happen? It happens down at the microscopic level, at a place called the synapse. And I want you to look really closely at this definition. See what they're made of? Proteins, fats, minerals, and energy. Now, where do you get those things from? They come directly from your food. You are literally building your memories out of your last meal. So let's dive into how this tiny little engine actually works. How does a thought or a piece of info get locked in and become a real stable memory? Well, it all comes down to the chemistry right here at the synapse. You can think of it like a simple lock and door system. The keys are your neurotransmitters. They float across a tiny gap and have to fit perfectly into the locks, which are the receptors on the next brain cell. And then, this is crucial, you need energy from your food to actually turn the key and open the door so the signal can get through. Now, what happens if the building materials are, well, junk? The whole system just breaks down. When you're eating a lot of ultra-processed, incoherent food, the cell membranes literally get stiff and rigid. The keys, your neurotransmitters, are inconsistent. The locks get rusty and slow. And here's the most important part. The signal just fades away before it gets a chance to get stronger. The keys don't fit, and there's not enough energy to open the door anyway. And that microscopic failure leads directly to that really frustrating feeling we all know. We beat ourselves up, right? We say, I just can't focus. But this is a huge reframe. Your brain isn't failing to focus. It is failing to physically stabilize the signal. That difficulty you have concentrating, it's not a moral feeling, it's not a lack of willpower, it's a biological problem. It's a structural failure because the raw materials just aren't good enough to do the job. And this biological reality, this constant fading of the signal before it can lock itself in, well, it has a name we're all very familiar with: brain fog. You've had those days, haven't you, where you read the same sentence over and over, or you walk into a room and completely forget why you're there. It feels like your thoughts are just moving through mud. So why does that happen? It's a direct biochemical connection. That metabolic chaos from a poor diet is brain fog. Those crazy blood sugar spikes and crashes make it nearly impossible to hold on to new information. That feeling that nothing sticks, that's literally your brain failing to stabilize signals because it's running on chaos. Okay, so the synapse is ground zero for the construction work, but it doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's part of a much bigger support system for memory. So let's zoom out for a second. And let's talk about your hippocampus. You can think of it like your brain's temporary workspace, kind of like the RAM on your computer. The most important thing to know is that its capacity is super limited. It gets overloaded really easily by multitasking and stress, and, this is key, It absolutely requires a good night's sleep to clear itself out and get ready for the next day. And this brings us to one of the most critical takeaways here. These three things, sleep, memory, and food, they are not separate issues. They are one single integrated system. While you're in a deep sleep, your brain is hard at work, filing away the important memories from the day. But that entire process runs on the energy and the stability you gave it from the food you ate. You can study for 10 hours, but if you've been eating junk all day, that information might never get properly stored. So, all of this leads to a really simple but honestly pretty radical conclusion. If you really want to learn better and remember more, the work doesn't start in a textbook or on a screen, it starts with your fork. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Your brain isn't a magician, it's a construction worker. It doesn't remember what you want it to remember. It remembers what it has the right materials to physically build. So, here's the final point, the big takeaway. Stop trying to learn better by just trying harder. You learn better when your synapses, your little memory engines, are built from high-quality, coherent food. That just means real food your biology recognizes and knows what to do with. Think of it this way. Your attention and motivation are the architects of your memory, but your food provides all the bricks and mortar. And that's the question I want to leave you with. The next time you sit down for a meal, just pause for a second and ask yourself, are these the materials I want to build my thoughts, my focus, and my memories with? Because at the end of the day, learning doesn't start in the brain. It starts on your plate.